But here you are, Lyman Good.
Thank you. First off, I want to say thank you for having me. It's a pleasure and honor, and it's a privilege that I take very seriously. I think what's important is that we all speak on behalf of how God has all touched our lives, but from the many testimonies that we've all endured in our personal lives and everything we've gone through on a personal level to be where we are today. I want to speak on behalf of trusting the wait, because we're all in a waiting period for something. And who are we in the dark? I appreciate the graceful introduction and all of this, but at the end of the day, fighting is not who I am, it's just something that I do. So I don't pride myself on that being the forefront of Lyman Good. It's something that God has gifted me with the ability to use as a platform, so I may one day reach others, who knows, Born and raised in East Harlem, and it's a gun-toting, gang-banging, drug-dealing type of neighborhood. But I didn't know then God was preparing me for much later down the road for me in the future. My mom and I decided to start training as a hobby, but really it was just to get me off the streets. I didn't get along with, obviously a lot of what was going on around me. I was very much to myself, stayed pretty much a loner, and just kind of, just stayed to myself. During that time, my father was in and out of my life. Alcoholic. There was things that I witnessed that my mom went through with him. But a lot of that is just kind of painting the picture of my upbringing. After I started training martial arts, that was my saving grace for me. It was something that I fell in love with so much that it took me to a different world. I was no longer in the projects, in my mind at least, in my heart. I felt like I belonged there. It was a place that gave me, it just gave me a place of peace. When I was there, I was just training. I was pouring everything I had into martial arts. Now, mind you, at that time, I didn't know that I would be competing or that I would own a school one day and teach. I just did it out of passion. I did it out of love. I was raised Catholic, so my whole upbringing was always God. It was God-centered. However, I didn't quite know in my heart where God was. I know he was around somewhere from what I was being told growing up, but I started training, fell in love with it to a point where it started giving me somewhat of a sense of hope to understand where my upbringing was, and everything I was surrounded by is not who I can become as well. It's not, I didn't have to be a product of that. I get often the question of usually two things. When am I fighting next? Or which one was my hardest fight? And I kind of entertain the conversation. I'll tell them stories, and I'll say, well, there was a time I broke my hand on the first punch that I threw, and I fought the whole fight like that. Or I had my nose shattered sideways, and I couldn't breathe, gushing blood. The other guy, gushing blood, and all this crazy stuff. But in reality, the truth was, without telling them, I knew what my hardest fight was all along. Anytime I ever stepped into that cage, I never stood across from another man. Whoever was in front of that cage across from me was me. Because the preparation that I needed, which was about 3 to 4 months, they say a training camp is about 3 months for any fight. In the UFC, you always have to be prepared. We get last notice fights, last minute fights where someone gets hurt, and then they call you, hey, someone got hurt 2 days ago, can you fill in? So you always got to be on deck, always ready. It's not a season. It's just ongoing year-round. But the preparation for that and the fuel for it for me was always anger. It was always all the sadness and a lot of what I grew up around. And the only thing that I knew really, and for me it was anger, and a lot of it had to do with my upbringing and my father. And the reason I say this is because to me I felt like I worshipped anger more than I did God. I worshipped the very thing that fueled me from my training camps more than I did God. I, down the road, started competing. It became a professional thing. I still didn't know what the hell I was doing. I was just like, just give me a name and a place to be. I show up there because the person, again, who's across from me is not the opponent. It was me. So I was very privy to the idea of going in there, and anytime I ever stepped into the cage, I never walked out as the same man. And I recognized that every fight was just a bit of a transformation that was happening. And yet, inside, I still always felt empty. I was understanding this phenomena that happens. Most fighters don't talk about it. We have post-fight depression. After every fight, there's the lights, the people, there's the camera. You're fighting in front of hundreds, thousands. I fought in Madison Square Garden twice. I've fought in Brazil. I've traveled. I've done all these things in front of thousands of people. But whenever the lights turned off, I always felt alone. In the presence of people, after a fight, if there was a win, there was always a celebration, I always felt alone. Nothing could get through. There was just this heart of stone, it felt like, this cold heart I had inside that just never welcomed love from other people, even my partners at the time, even from my own mother. I recognized that was a problem for me because they say you can't love another until you learn to love yourself. And this was a lesson I was just very against because I said, I'm a man. I don't need to love myself. I just need to be there and be present and support and provide for my family and my loved ones. As long as there's that, there's love, to my understanding. The last fight I had was about 5 years ago, 6 years actually, and then the night before the fight, this was in Vegas, I'll never forget, I started getting hot, and I was getting sweaty, and I was just getting this feeling, and like I thought I got food poisoning. It's a fighter's worst nightmare. It's food poisoning the night before the fight. So I kneeled down in front of a toilet, and I was trying to just make myself throw it up, whatever it was that I ate, because I thought, man, I'm sick. I can't perform like this the next day. And this was a big fight because the person, it was actually the image I was brought up, he went on to become the champion in the welterweight division for the UFC. Anyways, it was a big fight. And I felt sick, and I was wondering what on earth was happening to me. I felt sick. And lo and behold, I didn't realize until just tears were coming out of me. I'm trying to puke, and I'm trying to make myself just get it out, and nothing was coming out. It was just dry heaving. And I just found myself just pouring in front of this toilet. And I was crying, and I said, man, I couldn't feel lonelier. I couldn't feel more lonely in this moment. Days before I had found out my father passed away, management reached out to me and said, hey, why don't we pull you out of the fight? You need time with your family. You need time to heal. You need time to yourself right now. It's not a good time to compete. And I said, no, let's go out there. Let's fight. I was doing what I know best. This touches on a very important topic for me, and it's called the mask, because we all wear one. And it's been a mask that I've worn for, at that point, almost 20 years. I go out there, I perform, I become the man that people expect me to be for others. When the lights turn off and I'm alone, even in the presence of people, that wasn't truly who I was, because I was just trying to uphold the image of somebody who I thought was bringing me joy, happiness, fulfillment, wholeness. But meanwhile, God just knocking on the door. And I ignored the calls. I pray every night, but prayer, after many years of doing it, becomes habit. It's rote prayer at that point. But I went out to fight anyways. I said, no, let's go out, let's do this, because it was just me going through the motions. This is the first time I ever stepped into the cage feeling the way I did, where the moment I stepped in, I said, man, I just want this to be over. I wanted it to be done. I just wanted to leave, go home. And I knew in my mind what I was preparing myself for, and it was self-destruction. My father, a year before, had reached out to me. He called to, make amends, to do right. I'm the third Lyman Good, so it was interesting. A Good would call me to try to make good on his word and all the things he's known himself in my life to be, and it was, shortcoming most times. And I greeted the phone call with a lot of anger. The only thing that gave me a career, that gave me a life, was anger. That was just my fuel. That was the thing I worshipped most. I did many good things with it, but still it was just burning me inside. I was dying inside. I let out years of rage and frustration, not knowing that would be the last thing I'd ever say to my dad. That's when a year later I found out the news. That's when I find myself kneeling in front of a toilet, realizing I'm having the first time ever an experience of a panic attack. When I go home, I started a campaign of self-destruction, and I said I need to punish myself for this, because I can't uphold this image anymore. I can't be this Lyman Good people want me to be. I was running a martial arts school. I was given an opportunity to own the school, so I did, and I was teaching, I was mentoring, I was coaching, I was doing all these things. Meanwhile, in the dark, who I truly was dying inside, was punishing myself, was getting to the bottom of alcohol bottles and just doing everything I could to destroy myself slowly becoming my father, as a matter of fact. The lowest point for me was going away somewhere to renting out a basement of some place somewhere in the middle of Pennsylvania, brought my 9mm with me, and I was ready to paint the walls. My mom at that point for months was calling me every single night, leaving voicemails. I think this is something we could all understand, is that we don't ask for help. We have a hard time letting people in because we're the ones that provide, we're the people lean on. So I was holding on to the image of Lyman Good so much that I didn't want people to see what I was going through and what I was doing to myself. So my mom would call, leave voicemails, I'd never answer, I just kept ignoring her. Everyone calling one by one. Those who knew, they knew. And they would do their best to try to reach me, and solid wall. One night she left this voicemail that she cried a cry I've never heard my mom cry before, even after being hurt physically, emotionally, mentally with my father, and all the things I've seen her gone through. I've never heard her cry like that. And I played that voicemail on the way to that place in Pennsylvania, ready to end it. I wanted it to be over, that war within. I wanted it to be done. And I couldn't do that to her. I have two younger sisters that my mom and I also helped raise. So I said, well, if I'm not even good enough to do this, to end my own life, then I'm just gonna live out the rest of my life at the bottom of bottles and destroy myself in secret while I'm upholding this avatar, this image, this creation that other people benefit from, but it's not me. Time afterwards, on September 21st of 2021, the way I introduce somebody into my martial arts school is I first teach them a private lesson. I do a one-on-one because I like to get to know everyone at my school. I'm very personable. I like to know their goals. I like to know what are your buttons, what's inside of you, what makes you who you are, because that also tells me how I can serve you better. On that day, I was scheduled to train a Michaela Nugent. And I remember meeting her for the first time, shook her hand, and trained her. And the whole time, it was just this feeling like, man, like we've done this before. I've known you before. This is strange, you know. Of course, I didn't say that to her, but she had the same feelings, and it was just this quiet recognition that we had. For the time that she was training, at the end of every class, towards the night where we're about to close, she'd always come to the office, knock on the door, tell me goodbye, and then always ask me, "Are you okay?" I look at her, I'm like, of course. You know, I'm that Lyman Good there. I'm the sensei when I'm there. And then she'd leave, I'd be like, you know, why is she asking me this? And she would do that just every time she'd train. And I recognized the same in her because I'd ask her the same question, "Are you okay?" She was like, "Yeah." Because I knew she came back from a military background, and she told me the reasons why she was there. She said she was looking for a unit. I took it for what it was, but I learned later what she really meant by that. Long story short, we got together. We started a life together. We got a house together. She started working for me at the school. She was my manager. And she was very big on mental health. She always wanted to serve people, wanted to help people, and wanted this world to be a better place. So I prayed to God, and I said, God, like, give me an understanding of what this is about, this interaction, because this is different. We had a meeting one time, Mika and I, in an office. We call it the war room, where we come up with ideas of things. And she sat down. She was like, why don't we start a mental health movement? Why don't we do a project called Good Theory? And I asked her, okay, that's interesting. I see the play on words, my last name, but what does that mean? And she said, well, think about it. Every time we greet somebody, we shake their hands. We ask them, how are you? What do people say back? I'm good. How are you? And what do we answer back? I'm good. How are you doing? When in reality, most men that we shake hands with are living lives of silent desperation. Deep down inside, there's probably a feeling of an end of their life. Deep down inside, they probably want out. Deep down inside, we never know truly what a man is going through just by simply shaking their hands. So that's why, to me, it's important when we greet one another, we truly get to know them, look in their eyes and see what is it that they're what's inside of their eyes, what's inside of them. Take the opportunity to really feel that person besides just, hey, how you doing? You just like look away and walk away. So I said, okay, so we started that. Things started to get better in my life. She was helping me, but throughout the whole time, she was telling me two things. She said, Lyman, you have to learn to forgive yourself, and you have to learn to love yourself. And I only understood one of those things, the forgiveness part. I still didn't understand what she meant by loving yourself, because how does one do that? How do you love yourself? Again, I'm here to love others. And that was going on for the whole time, telling me just love yourself, learn to forgive yourself, love yourself, forgive yourself. April 12th of 2024, we got into a car accident. She sustained a head injury that has caused her to be in a coma to this day. And she's recovering from the coma. We're trying to get her to wake up from it. It's been 2 years since I've heard her voice. And I kneeled in front of, in my bed, the same way I did in front of the toilet. I kneeled this time. I said, God, I can't do this alone, because I keep showing up to the school to teach people and to pour into them. I'm doing everything I can to help with support for Mika. I'm doing all these things for other people, and when I go home, it's the same loneliness I feel when I'm in the cage, the same loneliness that I feel even when I'm in the presence in a room full of people. But I can't do this alone, and I need you. And I prayed in a way that I never prayed before. And I asked for the one thing that was the power, and it was my driving force throughout the past 2 years, and it was surrender. It wasn't from my power or my strength that the past 2 years he's been in my life. It's been truly in surrendering and just putting my hands up and saying, God, you got this. I trust in you. I trust in the wait. And in the meantime, throughout the wait, who you intend for me to be in the dark is who you are refining me to be, and it is your grand purpose. It is your will. But all I ask you is the same as 3 brothers who were in the fire, and they walk out with Jesus there. I ask you, God, don't take me out of this fire, but I'm simply asking you to walk beside me in it. Refine me to be who you need me to be for others. Help me to understand this period of wait, because I don't understand it. And so I started attending this church. Initially, the church was a Catholic church, because I thought I had to go back to my roots and start going to church, like God truly in my life. I was turned down by the church during the time I wanted to go in for confession and just get things off of my chest, because the priest had said, you're not confirmed here, so you can't be here. And with tears in my eyes, I looked at him and I said, well, where does someone like me go? And he just said, I'm sorry, son, you just can't be here. I learned that God is in all the places they told me he wasn't. And the grand question for me has always been, who are we in the dark? And I don't mean dark as in hard times. I mean, who are we truly in the dark when you're alone, when you're by yourself, when you know that person and man that you are inside, but you're afraid to show and reveal to the world? That involves vulnerability. I found that in all the things that I thought is actually shameful, all the parts of me that I've kept away, that I try to hide and I tried to perform, this other man that I tried to be for others, that's where God wasn't. God said, I just need you to be yourself, be vulnerable, be who you are, because that's who people need right now. And I said, okay, God. I started doing podcasts where for the first time I was speaking on behalf of mental health in a way I've never before, because remember, 20 years competing, you're this image for people where you got to be strong and just what you saw on the slides. That's an image you have to uphold, but it comes at a cost. The cost of who you truly are, burning inside slowly, withering away, rotting. And when I started doing interviews, all that time it was always the same questions, the same answers. And I could do it almost just monotonously, without thought. But now my interviews had changed, and it was more about vulnerability, opening about, that emptiness that I always felt inside. And I feel truly in my heart a lot of us experience that in here. They experience a waiting period where we're praying and we're praying and we're asking, not realizing that meanwhile God is working through you in this time. And you have to trust the wait, because what God is also asking is, are you prepared for the thing that I'm going to bring into your world? Because it's going to rock your world. It's going to be amazing things. But son, I need you to be prepared for what I'm about to give you. And I need your hands to be steady. I need you to be strong. And this wait is a refinement period. This is a period of time for you to trust. Because what is faith other than trusting in what we don't see? As human beings, we have 5 senses. We trust that with everything. I mean, that's what keeps us alive, are the 5 senses. When there's something that escapes the cognizance of those 5 senses, we suddenly throw our hands and say, no, I don't trust this. But that's where God is. God is in the understanding that he works in ways we can never understand. He shows us a love that is so fierce and immense that is why we're still here to this day. He brings us together so that we may encourage one another. But from this message, the one thing I would truly say to all men, regardless of age, regardless of where they're at in life, regardless of success or not, is to trust the wait and to ask yourself, truly with authenticity, who are you in the dark? Who are you even when you lay beside your wife and your loved ones, and their eyes closed before yours, they're asleep, the world around you is quiet, and you're left alone to ask yourself, who am I? Truly, who am I? The parts of you that come out, that cry for attention, tends to be from a place of trauma, tends to be the things that we've shamed away or we hid from others because we had to uphold his image. We're men, we have to be strong, we're providers. But when you let that go and realize that that's a part of you as well, you can't amputate these aspects of who you are because you will always feel incomplete. Every time I stepped into that cage, I was, in my mind, whole, complete, strong, powerful, I realized every time I stepped in the cage, God was giving me a reminder of, no, son, you are incomplete. You're going in there, but there's a big part of you that's missing. And what that is me. It's God. What that is faith. But in faith, what that means is to truly let go and to trust that whatever it is that we're going through in life, we all have things we're experiencing, hardships, adversity. It's in that adversity where God exists. We think it's separate, but it's not. What I've come to learn is that in the past 2 years, I said, well, God, during this waiting period, as Mika's recovering, I have my phone on me at all times, and I'm just waiting to see her. Waiting to see her name. But I said, God, I trust you because I know you're working miracles right now. You do it all the time. And you're doing one right now. So in this 2 years, while I wait, God, use me. Use me for your will. Use me to do good in this world. And do what you do best. The past 2 years, I've been doing more mentorship than I've had even as a fighter. I've been more present in my school than I've had ever. Just being there to support my family, to be there for my sisters. My one sister is going through cancer right now. And I said, God, I trust you. I know she's good. I know Mika's good. I know we're all good. But this time, I don't want us to be good in theory. The way Mika came up with the name for Good Theory, I said, God, help me to be there for others and to serve, because we are still capable, even if we're at our lowest points in life. God is always asking of us, how much can we still deliver? How much can we be there for one another and support and to give community? I think this is an amazing thing that you guys have with each other every Friday, to get together and to meet. Be open, be honest. Those very same things, that little voice, there's this thing that happens. There's 2 voices in our head. One is God, the other one's not. Most times it's the one that's not that we listen to. It's that voice of hesitation, the voice of embarrassment. If I open up and start talking about these things, it's the voice of feeling we're not good enough. It's a voice of, am I a good enough husband? Am I a good enough father? Am I a good enough brother? Am I good enough? That's not God, but that's God pushing you with that voice to understand the discernment, because we have to have discernment in our hearts to know the difference between what is Him and what is not. Most times what we bring to fruition with our own hands is not. Anything man-made is often flawed. because it comes from a place of ego. I can truly say from a person who has a perspective and platform to have all the ego in the world that it's not. It's not about ego. It's about using whatever God has given you, whether it's a platform for construction, a platform helping, in any form of service that you do to this world, use that to your advantage. Be there for one another. Help support each other. But help give each other, more importantly, the space to allow that person that has been in the dark to reveal himself. Because that is when a man is truly whole, is when they learn to encompass every aspect of who they are. I think we're called as men to have this servant heart, and it's a beautiful thing. It's powerful. However, it's often at a price of that person deep down inside. Once you learn to reveal the heart of that man that's truly inside, the one that's in the dark, the one that questions life, the one that's always waiting, always praying, you realize that all along God has been working in your life to prepare you for something, and he's telling you, I'm going to give you something so amazing, but I need your hands to be powerful and strong enough to hold the very gift I'm about to give you. But in order to do that, we need a refinement process. This is a forge. This is a fire. And you have to trust that you will walk through it and come out as another man. The man that I'm preparing you to be is a man that we are right now today. Take every moment and opportunity that you have. You feel those doubtful moments when you're experiencing parts of you don't want to show to the world. I'm telling you, that is where you need to go. Go into the uncomfortable. Step into the places that we often don't like to be in. We're averted to discomfort. We're also averted to impermanence. We think everything's permanent in life, but everything is borrowed, because nothing we take here on earth, we take with us to the grave. But the one thing that has truly stood the test of time and has always been there for us is this. And we all know what this is. This is not just our heart. This is a gift God has given to us to be there for one another, to be strong for one another. But what does that mean, being strong? Strong doesn't mean to show up as this performing actor, as the image even of what you see. That's yet an avatar. That's just a character that you play. On a day-to-day basis, from morning to night, who we are, question who you are beneath that. Because there's cores and layers to us as human beings. And it's called integration of shadows, meaning that there's parts of ourselves, again, since we were kids, for whatever reason, we shame away. We kick them there in the corner. We say, sit, stay, don't be shown, because I need to go out into the world and be this other thing. But you will live your entire lives separate from who you truly are until you go back to that corner, to that dark place, to those aspects of yourself that you're just afraid to greet and to welcome with open arms like a little child. Once you learn to do that, you embrace who you truly, fully are. Then you could truly and fully be who you need to be for your loved ones. You'll be a much different person when you learn to recognize that the fire that you stand in is a very gift that God is giving to you to make you become the man that you need to be. But you have to first ask yourself, who are you in the dark? And you have to learn to trust the wait. Because the waiting period is a refinement period for you all to be amazing men. And I look around and this is just, the sun's beaming and bright right now. It's God. It's God talking. And he's always talking to us. But I welcome you to use discernment and question the voice that you listen to, because it's so habitual, it's insane. We don't realize when you wake up, ask yourself, set a timer on your phone when you wake up and see how long it takes until the first negative thought creeps into your mind. You won't go long. That voice is not God. That voice is you. That voice is the part of us that feels broken, incomplete, who wants love, because at the end of the day, since we were kids, we've all wanted to experience that love. Whether we've had it or not, it's okay. Because we're still in this world to give love in places where it's loveless. That's why God has put us all here. He's put all of you here to learn how to inhabit and become all the things where they don't exist. They said to me, God is in church, and it's in Catholicism, it's in this, it's in that, it's in acting right all the time, it's in being perfect, it's in... I found God in the dark, and I found him in the worst time of my life in the past 2 years. It's a waiting period for me, But I put full trust in him, knowing that he's working through me to do many acts of kindness for others. Because even when you feel you are incapable and paralyzed, crippled, maybe by your fears, by your problems, by your stress, by your like, oh, yeah, I can't right now. God is saying, no, you can. This is when I need you, because it's in that I'm going to use you to show to the world that you can create it. You could create and bring things into this world where things don't seem like they exist, because that's how I work. I work in the supernatural. I work in the ways that people don't understand. We'll never understand. I work through grace. I work through love. I work, as much as we say light, I work in the dark all the same, because it's all the same to him. When you embrace who you are as a man, learn to trust the wait, and step into the man that you know you want to be, but don't wait for that man to happen. Don't wait for the opportunity to say, I will be this when I get that. I will become this way when I become this way. Because it will never happen. It will never happen. The richest place in the world is a cemetery. Because deep down, buried beneath that rich soil, were so many dreams and hopes and desires and things that just never came to the light of day. Because people held on to waiting and waiting and waiting until something happened, but it's not going to happen. You have to step into who you are today, in that vision of the man that you want to be. Be that person already. Act as that man. Walk proud. Walk different today. When you go into the world today, after this meeting, do good in this world. Even if you don't feel good. Be kind to other people, even if you don't feel kind. Inhabit the things that seem as if they don't exist in the places they shouldn't, because that's how God works. He works by being in the places that they tell you he's not. Learn to love yourself. Go out into the world, do good. I bless you all, and I thank you for the opportunity to be here right now. This is truly a blessing of mine, a privilege and honor to be here, not as someone above. I get a little like when I see the introductions and everything, but I think it's useful in a sense to understand that where I'm coming from is a place where it can be used for ego. It can be used to make myself seem like I'm better than you, and I'm not. I'm at eye level with each and every one of you, and I see you all, and I know your hearts, and I know many of our hearts in here have been hurt, are cold, at times frozen, and some of us have great and amazing hearts, but we're afraid to show that to the world. So be okay with who you are today, because God is preparing you for who you're supposed to be tomorrow. And it all starts with just trusting the wait. Thank you.